What up, everybody? Welcome to the AJXO podcast. Max and Nick here with you. Well, it's just me on video. Not that we post it right now, but Nick will be here in audio as he's driving from Columbus back to old Akron.
Yeah, I'm driving to my old sex wagon here. You know what I mean? The old Honda Civic back from Columbus.
I have an emergency flight back home here coming Wednesday, so we might do next week's show together in house in the same place, which will be dope. Totally,
yes, sir.
Freeze my nuts off because I'm bringing the heat a little bit, right? I'm going to heat up Ohio when I get in on Wednesday to 40 degrees.
And then you're going to get kicked right back to reality.
Yeah, and then Ohio's going to be like, hey, that was cool, but here's 20 degrees and 11 inches of snow apparently. So, I had my mom order me a snow jacket and pants, might as well play in it while I'm there.
Right. Did she throw in some snowshoes for you?
I still got my mailman shoes. I actually got to bring them with me. I have them here with.
But you need like those big, like giant snowshoes that you can like walk on top of the snow with.
I don't have those. That would be nice.
Those suckers.
That would be nice. It's going to be
with you. Yeah. With you living in Arizona for as long as you have, I don't even know if you remember how to like function in the snow. So this will be interesting.
I don't. So I haven't seen snow like that in a very long time. But yeah, I might as well make the best of it and play in it maybe since I ain't got shit to do. But yeah, dude, it was we got a little late. We couldn't get the pod in earlier this week like we wanted to, so we're kind of recapping these crazy ass games last week, and literally the AFC and NFC championship are going to start in about 2 hours. So we're trying to get through all this and get something up before these games start today. Dude,
to be honest with you, man, I don't know that I really could have stomached recapping the games from last week without like having a few days to digest what the fuck I watched. So it's a good thing we're probably doing it now. Like, I think I've reached the final stage of the grieving process. So like, we're there. So we can do it with at least some objectivity, and not as much emotion. So,
dude, the craziest thing about all the games collectively, I think it was, which might never happen again. We had every game. Was it every game but one? Decided by last second field goal.
I think every game wasn't
every
it?
Game. I think all four.
Outside of the Bills game, but that went to overtime. So it was almost like
field goal
having a last second, right? But a last second field goal to take it to overtime. So
yeah, dude. I'd have to say if I was shocked about any of the game, obviously, to me, the 49ers didn't beat Green Bay. I think Green Bay just beat themselves. The 49ers couldn't even score an offensive touchdown. They were able to make that last drive of the game to set up the field goal or whatnot. But if it wasn't for that blocked punt, they don't score to win that game. So
I was watching that game and I was kind of dumbfounded that it was shaking out the way it was shaking out. You know what I mean? Like it was honestly, out of all the games, that was the hardest one for me to watch.
Yeah.
But it shows you, like, when coaches talk about all three phases of a game mattering, like that game is the quintessential example of special teams meaning something. So but that one was probably the most difficult one I had when I was like watching games this weekend. It was just real tough to watch, man.
And then like you saw that first possession with Green Bay and they drove down the field so easily and scored. I thought it was going to be a long day. I thought Green Bay was going to go in there and end it quick after that, and they fizzled out. That was probably for me, I would say, out of all these games, the biggest surprise. You could say Tennessee and Bengals was a surprise, kind of. You have been on here, late in the season, not even because I didn't pay much attention to Tennessee except for the beginning of the season. They looked like a terrible team, and I didn't realize they turned it around to the point where they were 11 11-4 or whatever going into that game. What's crazy about that game too is the fact that I don't know if you saw, Joe Burrow was sacked 9 times, and they still managed to somehow win that game and did what they did.
To go into that game, I'm not sure if any of our listeners are familiar with it, but it is something that a lot of people in the analytics community put a decent amount of stock in. It's called DVOA, which is a formula that measures strength of opponents, performances in games, and kind of gives like a good snapshot of how your team is performing both offensively and defensively in the grand scheme of the NFL. It's Football Outsiders that does it. Follow them on Twitter because they do a pretty good job and pretty good breakdowns, and the algorithms and things seem to be pretty on point and can give you guys a good idea of how teams are performing throughout the course of the year and like status wise. And I'm pretty sure I saw him tweet it. It's either the Tennessee Titans going into this year, historically since DVOA has been around, they were either historically the worst ranked DVOA team in NFL history as a 1 seed, or like the second worst ranked team as a 1 seed, which does not surprise me because, I've seen some Tennessee Titans games this year, and I honestly, I come away going, most of the wins that they had this year, I came away like, man, they just, I feel like a lot of it was really related to luck and not necessarily how they managed a game and what they did within the game.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like they got very lucky this year. And, again, you watch the game, the playoff game, and I had no doubt in my mind that Cincinnati could go in there and win that football game. I thought it would be predicated on, being kind of a lower scoring, affair with ball control and just limiting possessions and things. But Ryan Tannehill really fucking screwed the pooch in that game. And their defense played lights out. And, ultimately it boiled down to Ryan Tannehill throwing a pick, Joe Burrow, answering the bell, getting into field goal range, and letting magic happen. So, you can't go into a game like it was surprising to me that a team that gave up 9 sacks still were able to come out on top. Like you would think that would be drive killer after drive killer. In reality, Tennessee kind of shot themselves in the foot because they couldn't capitalize on many of those drives. So
yeah, man, it's crazy. I didn't expect the Bengals in year 2 with Burrow to get this far. It's almost like, it's kind of funny. It's like the opposite of the Browns this year. Like this year, the Bengals are last year's Browns, right? Getting that far, and a lot of people picking them to upset. Kansas City this week. Some people are, and a lot of people, I think, and we'll get into the breakdown. A lot of people, I think, want Cincinnati to win because of Patrick Mahomes' fiance and brother. I don't know if you saw that fiasco. We can talk about that actually after we finish breaking down these games. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's pretty crazy. And it's no secret that the Bengals offensive line's not great, right? It's telling to when they do beef up that offensive line, which they can easily do in an off season, how tough that the Bengals are going to be to beat in that division. And for the rest of you Browns fans out there, I've tweeted this. Yeah, it's kind of tough, man, because we were excited as fans that the roster's getting built up and we got the talent, but it's not easy because the Ravens are probably going to bounce back, and you got the Bengals there, and the Steelers, even though they kind of suck right now, their sucking is still a winning season in a playoff game. So yeah, who knows what the future holds? It's tough division. Well, but anywho, what's that?
Honestly, with Cincinnati going into that game, think about how they ended the regular season shook out, right? They lose that final game.
Yeah.
They get the 4 seed, and then look at their path in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You had the Raiders to start. You had historically, who the fuck knows what kind of Tennessee team you're going to get. And really, it ultimately paid off for him because it kind of cleared the path to get to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Without having to go through the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So, now they have
That's
to.
true.
I mean, they have to go through the Chiefs to get to the playoffs or to get to the Super Bowl, but they didn't have to go through the Chiefs to get to the championship game. So,
yeah,
they're there, and they have played Kansas City already once this season. So it's kind of a rematch of sorts, but playoffs are a different animal.
Yeah,
Chiefs are a different animal.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little different from because they played a long time ago. So we'll see, man, as we break that game down. And then, Tampa Bay Rams, dude. I was watching that game, and
what a fucking game.
When Tampa Bay was down, I'm like, fuck, dude. Like, I mean, is this like a Brady thing? Are we about to see? And like, I don't know what it is about the Rams, but they seem. The one thing that worries me about them playing today, as we'll break down, is them having a track record of giving up leads, like big leads. Like they should have fucking. I mean, they were dominating Tampa, but like they should have fucking. It shouldn't even been that close. And Brady came back, dude, at the very end, tied it up. That shit was fucking crazy.
Yeah, that game was definitely one of the more fun ones to watch over the weekend. And just watching the game, like I didn't feel like Tampa Bay really found a groove at any point in the game.
Yeah.
But the Rams really gave about as many possible opportunities as they could to Tampa Bay to make it a game. A lot of it was, and I think it boils down to like the margin of victory in the playoffs really comes down to how many self-inflicted wounds do you have, and how the other team is able to capitalize on those. And, had the Rams been able to cut out one or two of those mistakes that they made, it's not a close game in that regard because Tampa Bay really had to have, a few additions to bring it to where for just delivers, because that was just for Tampa Bay just it looked like a blown assignment, not understanding what you were trying to do there in that situation. And credit to Matthew Stafford for fucking showing the world his giant onions in between his legs and fucking delivering a dime to Cooper Kupp. So
yeah,
that was a good game, man. Like I had no vested interest in it, and yet I was like, oh my God, I cannot look away. So it was definitely a good game.
Yeah, Tampa Bay, they battled injuries all year around, and like the fact that they still almost got back to the NFC Championship game in that fashion, it was still pretty impressive because when Godwin went down and he was becoming like the top target, and yeah, you saw it Evans, and then AB decided to go fucking crazy like he always does, so they lost him. And so even like what they were working with, they were still in it. The Rams, I don't know, like I'd have to go back, like I don't know what defense they were playing when they had that lead. I don't know, because teams seem to do that a lot of times, like they get a big lead, and I don't want to say prevent defense, but like it's always been the debatable thing. Like
one of those things where like you've got a lead like that, and really
you stop being aggressive.
Time is the enemy of your opponent, right?
Yeah.
You only have so many possessions left in a game, so it's like let's limit their possessions by allowing them to move down the field, but also chew up clock. So like it's kind of a fine balance there of like not necessarily sticking to the game plan per se, but like, all right, hey, we can shift our philosophy a bit because really our ultimate goal is to limit how many possessions these guys can have. But also puts pressure. It puts pressure on you as an offense, though, if you're defensively, you're doing that, because offensively you can't fuck up, and that happened a few times down the stretch.
Yeah, dude, I tell you what, with the Rams though, like despite the giving up the points, like they're playing really well right now. Like they like a team that if you want to win the Super Bowl, like they're kind of playing hot. Obviously, Kupp's been amazing, but dude, I know a lot of Browns fans are probably not liking it, but OBJ has been a huge factor. I mean, I think he's scored, what's he got? It's like 6 or 7 touchdowns since he's been there, which
Yep.
is essentially half a season. So like not even knowing the full playbook, he's been able to get in there and be productive. And I don't think he had a touchdown last game, but he had a drive there where he basically I mean, you can make the argument that they might have won that game because of him, catching that pass. So, even though you could say he's the number 2 receiver next to Cooper Kupp right now, the duo is panning out, and it's helping that team.
Yeah, and well, imagine if they still had Robert Woods. I don't know if they still had Robert Woods. I don't know that they make a move for Odell Beckham, right? So,
Yeah.
But it has paid dividends. That's how that offense needs to function. They need to have a 1-2 punch like that. And Odell definitely brings a interesting skill set, an explosive skill set. Great body control. His hands are phenomenal. But he also adds the element of he can be a deep threat. A very explosive downfield player as well. So it kind of stresses defenses to have to defend the multitude of options they have, and when you can run the ball the way they do, and with schematically with what they do with zones, zone runs and things, and they're able to get efficient, the efficiency in the run game at that time. It does put a extra amount of stress on defenses, and honestly, the missing piece for them for getting really over the hump and being a contender was just getting the more consistent dynamic play at quarterback, and Matt Stafford's brought that element to that offense.
Yeah, and then defensively, Von Miller's looking like Super Bowl Von Miller. Aaron Donald's still doing his thing, but they're getting help from everybody. I don't know his name. I think he's number 54. He might be the other linebacker. I see him come off the edge a lot. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, but he's been fucking getting in there and getting to the quarterback. Defensively, obviously Ramsey, they're playing pretty well defensively too. So I do think, and again, we'll get into breaking down the games this week, but I think the Rams are in a good position to potentially head back to the Super Bowl. Dude, your Bills Chiefs game was probably the best game anybody's seen in a while, and regardless, is probably going to be better than any Super Bowl we're going to get. So,
we said it before that game, right? Like, we had a gut feeling winner of that game is going to be representative, the AFC representative in the Super Bowl this year. And, a lot of people pegged it as, possibly the game of the weekend. Granted, Tampa Bay and the Rams really gave a good run for their money there. But I don't know that I've ever seen a game like the game we watched to cap off that last weekend's games.
Yeah.
Like, it was very evident that you have 2 quarterbacks in that game that are like landscape shifting quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, you got just essentially two Goliath quarterbacks just facing off against each other. And the last 5 minutes of that game was fucking bananas, dude. Like, it was one of those things. Like, there were points in that game, specifically Kansas City scores to go up by, I forget, it was like 23 to 14, where it's like, oh man, they got a 2-score lead. And like, it's in the third quarter. It's like, oh man, gotta have a quick drive here. Like, otherwise this game might slip out of reach. Yep. And then it's the one play, 75-yard fucking hose from Allen to Gabe Davis, who, by the way, holy shit, what a game, bro. What a game. But dude, yeah, like,
we were sitting here before preseason, watching preseason games, and I was like, man, how long is he? And then we were talking about him because he's been in the league for a couple of years now. And I'm like, dude, he just looked good in preseason. And now to see him expand in that role and come into a playoff game like that and ball out was just fucking cool.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs had a lot to do with that because of how Kansas City was, attacking the Bills' offense. And like, they literally just said, we're going to bracket Stephon Diggs the entire game and make the other guys have to beat us. And yeah, that defensive game plan almost backfired. Whatever. But dude, the last 2 minutes of that game was the most insane sequence of events I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
You know, and really the ultimate, like, despite how good Josh Allen played in that game, like really what it boils down to, and it's going to be, you know, in the history books of just shitty, heartbreaking Bills defeats, right next to Wide Right next to the Music City Miracle, is going to be 13 seconds. And you're going to put that 13-second timer right up there because, dude, that was the, you know, and again, you talk about playing, you coaches say it, players say it, playing a complete football game. I don't know that there's a better example of if you play 59 minutes and 47 seconds worth of a football game, you can still lose a football game because the last 13 seconds really fucked the Bills over in that game. And, you know, that ultimately ended up being the difference, really.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, any other team, I don't think does that. I don't know if you saw like the clips though, where like supposedly right before that play, Kelsey was like telling Mahomes that he's like, "Hey, I saw something. I'm a run. I'm not running that route. I'm gonna run." Basically, he's creating his own route. And then they have audio of Mahomes at the line being like, "Do it, Kels. Do it, Kels." So he did his little route up towards the middle of the field because he knew it was open. And that's how they got the first down or the yardage needed to put the field goal unit on and win the game.
I just, you know, the questions, I think, you know, as much as people want to say the players really dictate outcomes of games, you know, you look at this and you can't watch this game and say coaching does not matter in like a major way, because for the three play sequence to end that game of not pooch kicking it and not squib kicking it is, you know, one of the things. And our boys over at Cover One that I like to listen to a lot for Bill's podcast stuff and film breakdowns got confirmation that it was supposed to be a squib kick. And a lot of players on the coverage units were very confused as to why the ball went through the end zone. So that's, you know, that's a detail coach related item. Like, how do you not, you know, communicate that to your team? And then the 2 plays following the kickoff, you know, you're playing 15 yards back, and, you know, all game, if you watch that game, like pretty much throughout the whole course of the game, they forced Mahomes to really burn through reads. And, you know, despite the fact that he would scramble in the backfield, maybe leak out and pick up 15 yards, you know, rushing, or like, you know, get chunk plays by running the ball, you know, they forced him to hold the ball for a while before making that decision. I don't know why you would change your philosophy defensively to end the game, where time really is the enemy of the Kansas City Chiefs, right? So, like, why not stick with the plan of we're going to really bracket guys, we're going to play a ton of coverage, and if Mahomes has to scramble for 5 seconds and throw a 10-yard pass that turns into a 15-yard gain, like, okay, you've burned half of the time off the clock, if not more. You know what I mean? So it was very confusing, and the alignments in the last 13 seconds of the game were very confusing. But it ultimately ended up, you know, backfiring on the Bills, and you know, it leaves a lot to be desired, honestly. I think it was just a colossal coaching and defensive failure in the last few seconds of the game that ultimately cost the Bills a chance for the AFC Championship.
Yeah, man, it's tough because, like, and I remember I was like texting you, like, because we all, I mean, Nick Wright's become, you know, he's a big homer when it comes to Kansas City, and like I used to like him as an analyst, and now I feel like he's just becoming. Once Chris Carter like got taken off that show, and then it became like Nick Wright's show, and then he's like buddies with Cowherd. I feel like he's starting to become like just those regular sports media dudes that we all kind of hate, right? So I kind of wanted the Bills to win because he's so goddamn cocky, and he used, you know, I was thinking that he was going to shit on Josh Allen, and he kind of praised him a little bit, but also like took the attention and just put it on Kansas City, right? Like, to me, watching that game, like, and I'm not taking anything away from Mahomes, right? I even said it. Everything when it comes to quarterback play too, like when you're drafted, is about where you land, right? We've seen it. We know, like, if you're an organization that doesn't have their shit together, say the Jets, even Cleveland for a long time, you know, you could say Trevor Lawrence going to Jacksonville this past year was kind of a shit show with Urban Meyer. You know, you can't ignore Mahomes going to Kansas City and sitting behind Alex Smith with a team that already had Hill and Kelsey and at the time Kareem Hunt, like a loaded fucking team, a team that was already kind of a playoff team. Right now, Mahomes was able to take that and make it even better with his ability. But in the future here, because I mean, Kelsey's is in his early 30s now, so like we don't know how much longer he can be dominant. We'll see. The team's still fucking loaded, right? And they do seem to draft pretty well, but there were times where Tyreek Hill was just fucking wide open, like all these receivers fucking wide open, and I feel like it's kind of easy to. I don't want to say easy. I'm being an armchair quarterback right now. But with a guy like Mahomes, I mean, you're making it easy on him, right? So like, I basically what I'm getting at is like, I mean, I just think what Allen did in that game to me was a little bit more impressive in terms of his play. I think he really leveled up in that game, and I mean, we could be honest, like, I mean, Diggs, yeah, but I would say offensively, as far as if you're comparing weapons offensively and speed, like it's not like what Kansas City has, and the Bills were still able to dominate and score points like they did. So yeah, I mean, I think I was really rooting for the Bills. I think Josh Allen's performance was. I still think it was better than Mahomes that game. Despite Mahomes driving him down and getting the kick and stuff.
I was going to say, like, statistically, if you take away the overtime game, like Allen outperformed Mahomes and the regulation portion of that game, and did not have a chance to answer with his own drive in overtime, which we can talk about overtime rules or whatever. Yeah. I don't necessarily want to get really into that because I don't mind the overtime rules, but if you're going to make a change on it, I think it needs to be a distinguishable change between regular season and overtime rules. Like keep the regular season regular season overtime rules the same. And if you're going to change anything or make it tweak to anything, you can do it in the playoffs. That's fine. I'm open to it. I'm not like pressing for it. I'll agree. Oh, good. I was gonna say, like, I'll agree with your assessment though in that game that I think, and you can argue it if you want to, but I don't think there's really much debate. Josh Allen was on pace to have the single greatest postseason performance of any quarterback in NFL history. Like the record for touchdowns in a postseason, I believe, is 11. Josh Allen, this is like he completed 77% of his passes in the postseason. Mm-hmm. He had 9 touchdowns, 12 total incompletions.
That's crazy.
Like the guy was on pace to be like, you know what I mean? So while that's interesting and awesome, and like, obviously I think he's played the best out of any quarterback in the postseason so far. It's very encouraging for next season, although
where'd you go?
We'll get into it a little bit. There's going to be some change.
You cut out a little bit.
Dude, that game did not disappoint as a nightcap. Oh, was I cutting out a little bit? Sorry. I was going to say, like, going to next year, you're going to have some changes, but ultimately that game, I'm over it now. It is what it is. Like, I'm a Rams fan going forward here for the rest of the year. But like I thought that game did not disappoint, and it was, dude, we've watched a lot of football, right? Like, I mean, I've been watching football since I can fucking remember, and that's probably the greatest game I've ever seen in my life. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah,
like it was awesome.
No, it was great. I with the overtime thing, I mean, it's not even just this game for me. I've always hated NFL overtime, and I've tweaked it to try and make it better. Because remember when it was like first team to score no matter what wins? I just think like, I mean, anybody can tell you that college overtime is fucking legit. And like, if you were to tweak it for the NFL, you can move them back. Because where they start in college, 25-yard line, I think. You could start them on like the 40, or whatever. You can bump them back a little bit. But I think it's exciting. It'd be fun as shit, and what I would also do is, how like in college where I think after the third time you have to go for 2. I think if it was the NFL right off the rip, I say you have to go for 2. I think that would make it quicker,
I was going to say, like, my suggestion would be if you get the ball, like this will determine like whether you want to get the ball first or second, right?
Yeah.
So like obviously it's a 10-minute quarter. So like theoretically both teams should get an opportunity to have the ball, unless the first team like milks the clock down to like a minute, like an 8 minute and 50-second drive, and like, all right, hey, good luck. But I think an interesting tweak to it would be if you get the ball first, you have the opportunity to either choose to go for one, an extra point, or to go for a 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
And, if you are the second team to go, you have to go for a 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
I think like if you're the first team and you get the opportunity to, decide whether or not you wanted to go for a 1-point play, like you might weigh that risk of, all right, well, I know the other team has to go for 2. So I feel confident my defense can stop them on a 2-point conversion. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, I think it adds some intrigue there. But like if you decide as the first team, I'm going to go for 2, and you make it, and the second team drives on the field and makes it with a 2-point conversion in overtime, you have to go for 2. Like the second overtime, it's regardless, you have to go for 2-point conversion until the game's over with. But I think that first overtime period, give the first team the option to go for 1 or 2, and the second team has to go for 2. It's like it gives you, it plays into it. And now maybe as the team, you might say, you know what, we want the ball second because we're going to put the pressure on you to make that decision, as the first team. So like, I think it also takes away at that side of it, the importance of winning the coin toss, like right away. You know what I mean? Because in postseason history, I don't know if you know this, and we can kind of, it depends on if we want to keep this conversation going, but in postseason, teams that win the coin toss in overtime have a record of 10-1.
Oh shit.
So like you're winning 90+% of the games if you win the coin toss in overtime. Yeah. Which you think about it this way. In the regular season, it's actually like a 50% prospect. Like if you go to overtime in the regular season, you win the coin toss, like 50% of the time you're going to win the game, 50% of the time you're going to lose the game. But if you think about it in the postseason and why the numbers are so skewed the way they are, you've got the best teams, the best offenses, and the best quarterbacks typically playing in these games.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
So if you get the ball first, like because you have the better quarterbacks in the league, running your offense, you have a higher chance to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
And that really is what it boils down to. That's why, like, I feel like the playoff numbers, despite the sample size not being as big, I think the playoff numbers are skewed quite a bit in that regard because of just what you have as far as competency and offensive play.
Plus you can factor into like, well, I mean, I guess it's 50-50 during the season, but I mean, it's just so hard to play defense nowadays with all the roles. I mean, it's heavily favored for offensive play compared to what it used to be. So that's why, like, as soon as in this game, I just knew like whoever won the coin flip, that's just the way it was probably going to go.
Well, tails. Josh Allen called tails. Tails never fails unless you're the Bills in the playoffs. Then it does. So that's it.
But yeah, dude, crazy game. Lots of changes already, though. We got a couple coaching hires. Well, since we talked Bills, I mean, we'll kind of go there really quick. Dabble, as we kind of suspected, is taking the head coaching job with the Giants. And I can't remember. They hired Gettleman retired, and they got a new GM. So they got the new GM.
So it made sense in this case. Like I was talking about, there's going to be some offseason changes for the Bills. It was a really good tie-in into this conversation because the Giants bring in the assistant general manager from Buffalo. So Joe Shane was the assistant general manager. Yep. And now he is the general manager in New York. And the speculation was Brian Dable or Leslie Frazier were going to be the guys that get hired there. It made a ton of sense with the connections. And then Brian Dable ultimately gets the job there. And well-deserved, honestly. I thought he was going to be gone last season, to be honest with you. But, we were fortunate enough to keep him for another year. And now he gets to go into New York to try to resurrect Danny Lone's career and maybe keep Saquon Barkley a bit healthy. So.
As Frazier's the D coordinator, right?
Yes. I don't know if he's going to get a job, man. Like, I thought
he was going to get. I thought he was getting interviewed, but I can't remember.
He had a ton of interviews over the offseason here. It's kind of looking like he might not get a position there. I thought Chicago made a ton of sense for him, which they did bring on a coach, and then I thought the Giants made a good amount of sense with the connection to Joe Shane, and as of now, like I just don't know. I don't know that he's going to have any other opportunities, so he might stick with the Bills going into next year. Although I think he deserves a job, but
I did.
What?
Go ahead. I was just saying that the GM for the Giants was saying. I thought he said that like, and I don't know if it was bullshit because GMs have to give their speech and say a bunch of shit, but he was saying that he thinks Danny what's his fucking real name? I always call him Danny Loans or Danny Dimes. I can't. But saying that like they're not going to trade for Deshaun, and like they think that he can play, and who knows if that's legit or not. At the same time, it's like knowing that this draft class isn't great with quarterbacks, and there's not a ton of veterans you can go out and get. It's almost like he might be the best option just based on the experience he's gotten there since he's been drafted.
I agree. Well, I absolutely see Brian Dable bringing Mitch Trubisky in as well.
Yeah, maybe
with him being an RFA, or a UFA or whatever it is. I forget what it is. They had, he could pretty much sign wherever as a free agent this year. Why not bring a guy that knows your system in to compete with Daniel Jones? So it's interesting to me because I think teams might latch on to this philosophy that we'll just pick the toolsy guy and they'll turn into a Josh Allen type quarterback. And, Brian Dable was a very intricate part in making Josh Allen what he was. So like, I think Giants fans should have a bit of hope. I think he's a very competent and smart offensive mind. I think he can lead players. And, if you talk to any or listen to any of the Bills players talk about Brian Dable, it's glowing review. It's, it's just everything that you would want in a coach. Like they're like, this is the guy. He's the man. He cares just or as much about you as just your personal life as he does as a coach, and want to, facilitate you growing as a player and a person. So, I think it's a really encouraging hire if you're a Giants fan. And, I have a pretty optimistic outlook for what he can bring that team from a leadership standpoint and a competitive standpoint. So, you're going to see, again, you got a smart GM. I think Joe Shane is also a very intelligent, has learned from a good group of people in Buffalo, and I think that combo can be the biggest thing is you got to be aligned, right? As a front office and as a coaching staff. And I think they can be aligned for a common goal because of their experience with each other. And, I think the sky is the limit there. I'm curious to see what Dable does with his staff, though. There's a lot of options out there, and there's been a lot of connections made. Possibly Wink Martindale coming in, former defensive coordinator from the Ravens, coming in as their DC. There's been a lot of smoke around Dable trying to poach Ken Dorsey from the Bills staff to make him the offensive coordinator down there. And the Bills are also trying to retain him as well as the OC. So there's a lot of moving pieces there. So, I think really in the next few weeks, we'll start to see for the Giants how they're roster on some of these coaching hires and subsequent moves following that. So,
yeah, I mean, I think with the Giants, I mean, as bad as they were, they still got some pieces, right? I mean, obviously quarterback's still kind of a question mark, but I mean, with Saquon, the running back, they fucking need to beef up that offensive line. But I mean, was it Slayton? I mean, they had a couple pieces on offense, I think there. So who knows, man? I mean, they could turn it around really quick. I mean, that division's not great. The Cowboys always underachieve, it seems like, and McCarthy's automatically, I think, going to be on the hot seat no matter what happens. Like if Dallas comes out next year and kind of struggles in the beginning of the season, I think because everybody's linking, and we'll talk about Sean Payton retiring, but everybody's linking him to the Cowboys because of that connection. So like he might be on the hot seat, and Sean Payton might be just sitting out for a year and eventually maybe take that job over. So, and then the Eagles are kind of, I don't know, Jalen Hurts debatable on if he's the long-term answer or not. So yeah, I mean, I think the division's kind of great, right there for the taking, honestly. So we'll see. I'm interested to see what he does with this team, in just one season, because I think the Giants one of the teams that have 2 picks in the top 10.
I believe so. Yeah, I think they got
Yeah.
like a top 5 pick and maybe 5 and 7 or something like that. Like they're pretty close together, I believe. So.
Yeah, dude. It's it should be interesting, man. Let's see what they do with that. I don't know what they're gonna do. They probably have a lot of needs and stuff, but yeah, they should probably be filling in and everything. And what would you said you're glad he didn't go to Miami? Was there like talk about that?
Yeah, he had 2 interviews in Miami, and I think he was the preferred candidate to go there. And there was a connection being made between him coaching Tua in Alabama and being the OC for Tua in Alabama. So like there was a lot of traction there. But if I'm Brian Dable and I have the choice of, do I want to try to go against Josh Allen, who I know very well, and I know is like a dominant quarterback, twice a year for, the foreseeable future, or do I want to maybe go to a conference, and that's been, like you alluded to, notorious for kind of being a wide open conference because, like Mike McCarthy is not really an inspiring coach. The Eagles have a lot of question marks, with a second-year coach going into the season. Washington also has, some quarterback issues and like things to sort out. So like, I think the Giants, the Giants team and making that decision to be the coach there, I think it was, out of the options he had, I think that was probably the most ideal for the situation he wanted to be in. So plus he still stays in New York kind of type.
Yeah. Well, I would also imagine that part of the decision too is like, let's say Miami, right? Not only do you have the Bills I sit on top of the division, it's like, well, the Patriots were tough too. So there's those 2 teams that you gotta compete with to get into the playoffs, and then you're in the AFC, right? So then you're like, well, the Chiefs are still going to be good for a while, and there's like a lot. Cincinnati's on the rise, so it's like, man, it's not just those divisional games. Like, well, who am I looking like to get to a Super Bowl? This is what I got to go through. Versus NFC, okay, this division, we could easily, in a year maybe compete to where we can win this division because it's not great, and like the road to the Super Bowl might not be as hard as if you would take Miami in the AFC, because AFC's got a lot of young quarterback talent and it's fucking stacked. So
right. I really think the only other job opening where the division could potentially be wide open, assuming Aaron Rodgers leaves, would have been either the Vikings or the Bears job. I think with the openings that you have there, that the NFC North is like the only other conference where it's like, well, if Aaron Rodgers leaves, like that conference is wide open and it gives me a really good chance to, win the division multiple years in a row. So like, I out of that, like, it makes sense like why you would want to go to the East even.
Yeah.
Because I think it is. I honestly think that's a wide open division.
Speaking of those 2 teams in that division, I mean the Bears. Well, so Green Bay's kind of lost a lot. Like their OC went to Denver, and then their their passing coordinator got hired by the Bears because the Bears hired. Go figure. The Bears hired a defensive coach as they, trying to recreate that Lovie Smith era, even though they fired him in his last season when he went 10-6, which makes no fucking sense. And now I think Lovie Smith, I think he's coaching college ball now, but like, and he never got another opportunity, which is fucking weird. But how do you say his last name? Matt Eberflus?
Eberflus.
What a fucking name.
The DC from the Colts, like,
yeah.
Who, by the way, I thought did a fantastic job with that unit down in Indianapolis. Like their defense was legitimately a threat.
They were. Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought
if Carson Wentz didn't fucking choke, then they'd probably who
in the
knows? They
playoffs.
might
Who
be. They
knows what
want to go
happens,
deep.
right?
Yeah, but
But
I don't know. I we were talking about it before we started recording. Like the majority of teams and just in general, I think if we're just talking playoffs, I mean, you had Vrabel with Tennessee, and I think there was one other team.
I mean, McDermott was a DC.
Oh yeah, for Bills, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like two teams in the playoffs who were good, who have defensive minded coaches. Majority of the time, it's offensive minded coaches that are with the teams that are making the playoffs and are kind of at the top of the league. So, not that it's not doable. You just have to get that nice OC in there. But the problem is, like if you do that, most likely at some point the OC is going to leave and get a head coaching job. So there might be a little more turnover when it comes to setting up your coaching staff that way. I got a diehard Bears fan, and he's just kind of like not super excited about it, and it's fair, right? Because the Bears have always been known for having like a solid defense. The thing is, they gave up a lot to get Justin Fields. And they don't have any. I don't even think they have a first round draft pick this year because of it. They gave it away, right? So you got this new regime coming in, and you're probably going to want some draft picks because I mean, let's be honest, this offensive line's garbage. They need a lot of pieces. Allen Robinson's probably not going to sign back there. Why would you? His talent's been wasted by two teams essentially. So who knows where he goes in free agency? Because I'm pretty sure he's a free agent this year. So they're going to have to get some pieces, and they're going to have to do it quick. How do you do that? Okay, you got a defensive minded coach, but maybe you can trade Mac, get some picks out of him. He's still a stud, even though he's older. You might have to trade away some of those defensive pieces to get some picks in return. I don't really know. But what do you think about it?
So I honestly look at it because their general manager hire was the assistant director of player personnel with Kansas City in Ryan Poles. And I think, if you're going to look at it from just trying to align what your vision is as a team, I think Ryan Poles can look at it and go, hey, we got a dynamic quarterback here I think we can win football games with. We got to be able to support this guy as much as possible. As a defensive-minded coach, put together a staff that, I think the Bears defense can be, a pretty solid unit in the NFL, and they have been in the past. So I can absolutely see trying to mesh the philosophy of, Ryan Poles bringing that mentality that here's what we did in Kansas City to really support the offense and make it as dynamic as possible. It's going to be an interesting way to navigate aligning your philosophies and what Eberflus wants to do, how he wants to target team building and philosophy standpoint, and just what kind of players you want to bring in the building. They're going to have to kind of get that stuff ironed out. But, I can absolutely see, Ryan Poles going, Justin Fields can be a guy we can win football games with. Let's go ahead and, put as much as we can around him. So I would not be surprised if they, dumped a ton of assets into the offensive side of the football in this draft and really, really focused on growing and nurturing Fields to be, reach his potential as a quarterback prospect.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't mind the hire. Again, you look at the combo of guys they have there. Both guys were in this hiring cycle, considered to be guys that should get a very good opportunity, to step in and coach and lead teams and lead front offices. So, I think Chicago wanted to jump on some hot candidates that they felt could, push them over the edge, and in a division, again, like we talked about, that honestly could be fucking wide ass open if Aaron Rodgers thinks.
My buddy who's a Bears fan, he said he saw a rumor, which I think is pretty crazy. I mentioned it to you before we started recording, but there was supposedly a rumor where they're this new regime where they might trade Justin Fields to get some picks and a veteran in there, in which, I mean, you have fucking Foles and you had what's his name? I can't remember. Fucking, well, I'm drawing a blank. Red hair.
Andy Dalton.
Oh, Dalton. Yeah. So like, I mean, I don't know. You have those two guys that are expensive sitting on the bench too. But there was like speculation that they would trade for like, I don't know, a Wilson or somebody and trade Fields for some picks, which it just sounds kind of insane too. Because I think that first year with Fields, you kind of have to wash it because like he got thrown in there, and B, an offensive line that was literally got him fucking destroyed. So I don't think you can really evaluate him, and he still made some plays as the season progressed. So speaking of Green Bay, they're losing a lot of pieces. The OC, passing game coordinator, OC goes to Denver, and we talk about the whole thing. Like if Aaron Rodgers is in Green Bay, Devontae Adams is a free agent, I believe, and I think the OC going to Denver is very intriguing. The way, dude, I know some Green Bay fans as well. One of my managers is a diehard Green Bay fan, and I had a banquet. I was bartending the other day, and then like it was a bunch of MLB umpires, right? And the one guy was wearing a Green Bay's hat, other guy had a Chicago Bears like shirt on, and we were all talking football a little bit. And I heard the guys busting his balls, and like one dude was asking the dude from Green Bay if he thinks Rodgers coming back, and he's like, yeah. But you could tell like it was just kind of funny, like the way he was answering. They were kind of teasing, but I think it's fair to because I don't know what they're paying Rodgers. I'm sure it's a lot, and like over the years, we talk about this every year, him staying, him leaving. I think the Packers might be, who knows, they could go into a complete rebuild mode. They know Jordan Love's probably not the answer. He's played a little bit. He kind of looks like dog shit, so I don't really know what they're going to do, but with all these people leaving, like I mean, Rodgers even admitted he doesn't want to stay for a rebuild, so they're losing that OC that he's probably tight with, and I don't know, man. There's a chance that he could go to a team like Denver. I know he commented on McAfee's show, I think, about like, Brady doing it and Manning doing it and winning a title elsewhere. So I don't know, man. We'll see. Anything can happen. I still think he's playing at a high level, but it's amazing to me how many Green Bay fans and people are kind of shitting on Aaron Rodgers just for the fact that, he's lost a lot of NFC championship games or lose a game like this at home when he had everything, everything going for you essentially. And you still ended up losing. So a lot of people are kind of hating on Rodgers, which is, to me, is crazy because I think he can still ball out. You know what I mean? Like, I still think these people complaining, like if you wouldn't want Rodgers on your team as your quarterback, I think you're fucking high. Like why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I mean, I think it's definitely a possibility if he's going to go anywhere like now because of the OC, getting the job at Denver. Definitely think it's a possibility.
Well, I honestly
and if they could make it happen, if fucking Adams would go where he goes, I feel like.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that. And like you think about what happened last offseason, right? Like what was there a lot of smoke surrounding the fact that the Denver Broncos were extremely interested in landing a disgruntled Aaron Rodgers, right? Yeah. This is while Aaron Rodgers is off the map, I forgot about that. A lot of speculation. Like there was a lot of ties and there was a lot of smoke around linking Aaron Rodgers to the Denver Broncos prior to the season even happening. Now, Denver, which this kind of ties in and almost confirms it a little bit, right? Like Denver goes, you know what? There was a lot of speculation, or there was, we had a good chance to get Aaron Rodgers last year. It didn't quite come to fruition for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. Now we've hired your OC, who you, as Aaron Rodgers, have glowing reviews about, right? Like listen to Aaron Rodgers' comments on Nathaniel Hackett talking about, he's a great dude. He's an extremely smart individual, very good offensive coordinator, very, innovative. The guy is awesome. I absolutely love him. Blah, blah, blah. Like everything that Aaron Rodgers says, like he has a very high level of respect and admiration for what Nathaniel Hackett brought to the table as an offensive coordinator and as an offensive mind and as just a coach, and player developer. You tie that in with the smoke surrounding last season. And I honestly think the Denver Broncos made this move in an effort to say, listen, Aaron Rodgers, we understand you do not want to go through a rebuild in Green Bay with your cap situation. Devontae Adams you might not be able to retain Devontae Adams as the Green Bay Packers. Like there's a lot of things going on. I can absolutely see it. Like, I think this move was made with the idea that we'll have Aaron Rodgers, we'll draft his heir apparent at some point in time, whether it's this year, next year, etc. And like, even if it's Drew Lock, and Drew Lock can learn from Aaron Rodgers while they have a chance to compete now. Like, I think that was really what the move was. But
Yeah.
ultimately, too, with the way Aaron Rodgers talked about him, it kind of ties into the fact that I think maybe he's just a really good candidate in general anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he was in some difficult situations in his coaching career. Primarily, like, I know he was the Bills offensive coordinator when Doug Marrone was the coach. And like, that kind of soured a lot of people in Buffalo towards Nathaniel Hackett. But I think the guy can be a really good coach. He's got pedigree in the NFL, which doesn't always necessarily mean you're going to be a good coach anyway. But, it at least gives you a leg up. Like, all right, you've been in the business, what it takes to succeed here. And, it kind of it was like killing two birds with one stone. Hey, we can get a really good coaching candidate that I think could make us successful, while also simultaneously giving us a really good opportunity to try to lure Aaron Rodgers over here so we can compete now for Super Bowl. So very interesting hire. And I think, I'm really curious to see where it goes, but I think you got a pretty good foundation in Denver already.
Yeah.
With the defensive side of the ball. And, it's just a matter of what can you do with Drew Lock or, and see what he brings to the table. But I think you got a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, well, then also I was reading this, and I could have understood this wrong. To go along with all that, so the Denver Broncos are for sale, and it's potentially apparently could be the biggest sale in any sport, American sport history. So I think that's valued at like $3.8 billion or something like that. And like there's another rumor, it's like supposedly Elway and Manning are fighting to be the owner of the team or whatnot. I don't even know if either of them have the net worth to do that, but so there's like when a team gets sold, there's like a massive tax break because of the type of business that's considered with like the players and everything and the contracts. So there's a massive tax write-off too. So I'm wondering if this team also sells, that if it'll help with signing players and shit too because of the write-off. I don't know if it's connected or not. It's just something that popped in my head. But that is something that's going on as well with Denver. They will have a new owner at some point here soon. I would imagine before the season. So, but yeah, like read up on it. It's pretty interesting. Because I would just think that, like, I know it's a team that's being sold, but like you just think of some of the other teams that have big markets out there. Like the fact that them being sold would be the biggest sale, for a team in sports history is kind of crazy.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, like in that regard, NFL teams are only going to get more expensive as, inflation and things go up. So like, I feel like that's just going to be how it is. And Denver is a pretty decent market. I don't know exactly offhand, like their market size compared to the rest of where they rank from a market size standpoint, but I feel like they're a pretty big market as an NFL team. So yeah, I can see that. I absolutely see that being the most expensive NFL sale in just the history of the sport. So, I don't know how it's going to tie into player retention and things. I mean,
I'll have to read up if
you
it
would almost
does.
think
I just it's something that popped in my head. I have to read up on that more.
Yeah, I don't know that. I mean, because really, like you're kind of constricted to what you have cap wise. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like contractually and things like that. Like now, Denver might have more resources available for facilities and things of that nature because ownership can come in and spend their own money on that side of it. But I don't know that it's going to really tie into player retention or acquisition and cap space side of it. So, but it's interesting, and I didn't know they were for sale. So I just hadn't seen any links to who's potentially looking to buy. So it's interesting you mentioned Manning. And
that was that's just a rumor that I saw, like Manning and Elway fighting over it. You know what I mean? But like, I mean, all the shit.
He's going to need an investment group to do it.
Yeah, because out of all the shit that either of them, I mean, especially fucking Elway, but But Manning, even all the shit that he does, I mean, I feel like your net worth has to be in the billions, and I would highly doubt that Manning's net worth's in the billions right now.
Yeah, he can get an investment group together though, and they can all go into it, So
Yeah.
that's yeah, that'd be interesting.
It would be. So I'm gonna keep an eye on that. You mentioned something that I thought you were joking about. I did see something about it, but I kind of brushed it off because I didn't think it was an actual thing. But yeah, I feel like that's all the actual coaching hires right now. So we still got a lot of roles to fill. But apparently you said that the Texans have interviewed Josh McCown twice.
Yes.
I thought this was a joke.
Nope. Yeah. I don't understand. Like, you've got guys that have been OCs and like understand the coaching part of it. And then you're just gonna go in and be like, oh fuck it, Josh McCown is the guy. You know what I mean? And I was talking to my buddy Josh about this, and he played for the Eagles for a while, and like Josh understands, like he's like Josh McCown is a guy that is like real family oriented, like and obviously dedicating time as a player, but like in the off season you have some time away and stuff. And he's like, it's like I can't. He told me, he's like, I can't see Josh McCown being a coach because of how family oriented he is, and like, how much time you're going to spend as a coach in the NFL. So he's like, I don't know that he's going to have everything he needs to really become a successful coach in the NFL because of that aspect.
Right.
Like, you're like you never leave the facility type of guy usually as a head coach. So plus, where's he gotten his head coaching experience, and like, where's he gotten that opportunity to groom as a potential coaching candidate? But here the Houston Texans think that it's a good idea. It's looking more likely with that. So
I mean, fuck, dude, it's so crazy. Like
over guys like Brian Flores, who I would think like you would want to probably try to target a guy like that.
Or I mean, we've been saying it every year. We say it every year. I mean, you have Eric Bieniemy sitting there with the Chiefs for the last fucking 5 years, just balling out with their offense. It's like, I mean, come on.
Like, if I'm the Texans, we've talked about this in previous episodes, but it's like, I'm the Texans. Deshaun Watson wants out. Why? He didn't like, how
Josh
the
McCown
position you guys put him. Right. Who did he want to go play for? Brian Flores.
Brian Flores, yeah.
Who's available to coach your team? Brian Flores.
Right.
Like, if I'm them, I'd be really champing at the bit to listen, man. Like, we want to get you in here. Maybe you can sell us this relationship. We know like, I feel like Brian Flores is a pretty good coach.
Mm-hmm.
Just from everything I've heard within league circles and things, like, like, why wouldn't you want to try to make that work? Instead, you're gonna fucking go the curveball, like throw, like go completely off the wall hire and Josh McCown, and I just don't understand it, dude. But the Texans be the Texans, man. You know what I mean? Like, you just you do what you do there, I guess. Like, I feel like it's maybe you should have awarded an expansion team somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's just like they're making a mockery of the process. I don't know. It's not putting a lot of resources into interviewing him when I feel like you should be dumping resources into interviewing, like, other candidates that I think would benefit your team more.
Especially when there's only been 2 people hired right now. I mean, you have the whole field. I mean, you could be interviewing fucking everybody. You know what I mean? So it's pretty crazy, man. Fucking crazy. I'm interested to see what they do. I don't know, like,
unless they're just trying to do due diligence, but
I mean, I don't know. That's
I
don't even know what to think.
It makes me like, it's definitely a head scratcher.
Like, I love Josh McCown. Josh
McCown's
great, but like, dude, I mean, you got to have experience as a coach, man. Like you said, dude, like even some of these players, I remember Chad Johnson even said, because he's like helped out coach a little bit. He's like, hell no, dude. He's like, I could never be a coach. He's like, the amount of time that you think players put in a lot of time, the coaches is like worse than that. So, but yeah, it's crazy.
Did you see the link of Josh McDaniels to the Raiders?
I think I did see that one. I don't know how serious
Yeah,
it was.
well, it seems like if he, if the interview goes well and they align on how they want to attack the coaching staff, that could be a done deal, done deal here as early as this upcoming week. So,
No shit.
yeah,
Okay.
it's there's a lot of momentum towards that, I think, as well. There's also momentum towards Jim Harbaugh leaving Michigan to potentially coach the Vikings. So there's a lot of rumors
That's the
and things
first.
swirling around, man.
I've
Like,
always seen him linked to the Raiders, not the Vikings, but interesting.
yeah, I saw that. So pretty interesting stuff. I would think like he would also get an opportunity to interview in Miami, but Mike McDaniels, the OC for the 49ers, seems to be linked pretty hard to the Dolphins. So I think we're definitely going to see some of this stuff shake out a little bit more. But with our three concrete, we know who's there. We know what they, like what they're going to try to bring to the table with the Giants, the Broncos, and the Bears. We already have those hires in place. So, there's going to be definitely staff changes and things like that we'll keep you guys up to date with. But very interesting and a lot of like intriguing options. And I just, I like seeing teams like, all right, hey, the Giants, I feel like made a smart move. Like, I feel like the Bears definitely like have some sort of strategy in place, and like, it makes sense with what they're trying to accomplish with the two hires they made. And the same with the Broncos. Like, hey, we kind of can see what their strategy is here and like what they're trying to pull off. And you got teams like that, and it's like awesome to see it. But then, it's always fun to see the mockery being made of the fun shit. And like, it's just point laugh at the Texans for doing the dumbest shit ever. Sometimes, like, it's always fun to have that opposite ends of the spectrum there. Like, all right, hey, here's some teams that are making smart moves, and here's the fucking Texans, humping a doorknob over here. So like, that's just kind of what we're looking at.
Yeah. Fuck, man, it's crazy. I think a lot. Fuck, dude. Even after, but probably leading up to the Super Bowl, but there's got to be some of these teams who are waiting for, Bieniemy and maybe some people off McVay's staff, or any of these four teams left. But especially after the Super Bowl. So, fuck, dude. I'm gonna have to do some research and look up even last year because I don't remember, like how many teams had open vacancies for head coaching jobs, because this seems like a lot this year, but I just don't really pay attention, or I just forget of what the average is every year of teams looking for head coaches, but it seems like a lot. And then you got this news breaking the other day. Sean Payton decides to step down from the Saints. So, and then, he's being linked to potentially take over the Cowboys because he's got connections there, which makes me think McCarthy's on the hot seat, which kind of probably should. I didn't like that hire to begin with when they hired him. Originally it looked like that McCarthy was also going to lose Dan Quinn, but I think he said he's staying. And then Kellen Moore, I haven't heard anything more on him. I don't even know if he's interviewed. But yeah, man, it's going to be interesting. I did see, I mean, we've speculated it on the last podcast that Brian Leftwich would probably, he interviewed with somebody else, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did end up at Jacksonville. But yeah, man, we'll see. The Sean Payton thing was kind of interesting. I don't know where the Saints are going to go. Supposedly they might just have their D coordinator take over as the head coach.
Yep.
And
we had what, nine total teams this year?
Yeah.
That needed head coaching vacancies filled.
Yeah, it sounds high.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, that's almost a third of the league that fired their coaches, right?
Yeah.
So, that does seem like higher than most normal years, but
yeah. And then the Saints do have that guy. I don't know if he's the GM, but they got that the guy who just is really good, because they've always been like have had cap issues, but like I can't remember his name. My other manager is a Saints fan, and like he was telling me, but the guy's like a wizard when it comes to figuring out the cap space and like players' contracts and stuff. So they might be all right there. I guess the biggest news of the week, though, before we get into breaking down these games today, here in about an hour, less than an hour, it's a little bit of drama with it, but Tom Brady has officially supposedly retired. Was broken by ESPN yesterday. But then there was a message that supposedly said that Brady wasn't ready to get it out there yet. He wanted to wait a little bit, and people were shitting on Adam Schefter for that. And it's been a whole dramatic thing. So as of
Yeah,
right now, I guess he's retired, and I don't know.
craziness, man. What a career, right? But like you said, there was maybe not the way he wanted the news to break. Like I feel like, you know, he wanted to go through the right channels, inform the team, do an announcement like you know, like a celebratory, like, hey, my career's over with, blah blah blah. And yeah, Adam after comes out and fucking flops out who's I'm an insider fucker and says, hey, Tom Brady's retiring. And you know, there's a lot of speculation. It wasn't necessarily speculation. Like he reports it, everybody ran with it. Then it comes out, maybe he's not. Like the Bucks were like, he hasn't informed us. Like he's still making up his mind. You know, like there's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on. And then, you know, people are tweeting out, you know, fuck it, Tom Brady is gonna play for 9 more years and win 4 more Super Bowls because he's not gonna let Adam Schefter be the one that fucking beats him, you know, and he's gonna retire on his terms, and Adam Schefter is not gonna be the one that you know, makes him retire. So it
That's
was
funny.
you know, it was pretty funny, man. It was just interesting. But ultimately, you know, it looks like it is confirmed that that is a thing. And, you know, it's gonna be that's a career that's going to be very difficult to emulate for anybody. You know, I think Tom Brady set the standard of if you're going to want to achieve greatness, like you got to do what that guy did in his career, which is unprecedented, playing for 22 seasons, 6 Super Bowls, you know, however many, a string of 20 something, you know, playoff. It was just absolutely wild. Like, so, you know, that hats off to him. Thank God he's out of the league as a Bills fan. Like, fuck that guy, and thank God he's out of the league. But you know, what a career, man.
Yeah, man, that's you know, for I always tell people, you know, we were a little young, you know, by the time I started paying attention to football to kind of witness Joe Montana and like all his greatness. So you know, to see, you know, a guy like Brady and what he was able to do in his career, you know, in real time, whether you'd like him or hate him, I thought is something that I appreciated, because I don't know if it'll be, if we do get it again, you know, it'll be a while probably.
Eh, you got some guys in the league that I think like could potentially do it, you know,
Yeah.
but it hasn't been done before, and it's going to be very difficult to
Yeah.
do after, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, we got a bunch of young quarterbacks who are, you know, athletic and you know, because I mean, you know, I got Brady started an era where, like, you know, it wasn't a passing league like it is today. So the game's definitely changed. So who knows what the standard for you know, quarterback play is going to be here. Right now, it's looking just like people who can sling it all over the place. You know, as I said before, the offense is heavily favored in today's game. So whereas, you know, in the 90s and even before that, you know, the running back was like really popular. I mean, we used the old, they got like old school it is to have fullback now. Like teams don't even a lot of times carry fullbacks on their team, you know. So it's pretty crazy. It's kind of cool to watch that. 22 years in the NFL, it's a fucking long time, because when most players maybe play 5 years, you know, it's pretty crazy. So we'll see what they do down there in Tampa. I think they're going to lose a lot of pieces. They were able to keep a lot from the Super Bowl team this year, which was crazy, like the whole defense. I expect them to lose some players this year for sure. So we'll see how that pans out. But let's break down so I can get this episode edited and up. In the meantime, let's break down these 2 games we got today, the AFC and NFC championship games. The first game we have is Kansas City and Cincinnati. I know a lot of people were putting money on Cincinnati and want Cincinnati to win. And I mentioned it earlier. We can kind of talk about it now as we're talking about this game. You know, the whole season, you know, Patrick Mahomes' fiance and his brother have been creating a storm of buzz on social media, TikTok specifically, as Jackson Mahomes usually likes to go out there and do his gay little dances. But did you see the video of his wife like spraying champagne all over the crowd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just wonder, like, what the fuck are you thinking?
Well,
You know what I mean? Like,
someone brought up a good point. They're like, okay, she's in a suite. It's cold as fuck outside. She's like, she's not spraying it to celebrate on the inside of the suite, but she's spraying it on these people. It's like
right, that are out in the fucking frozen tundra, like supporting a team, right? You know, like that's what I mean. Like, where, like, fucking, like, turn your brain on for like 2 seconds and just be like, man, this is not a good idea. Like,
but then,
you think these people are gonna really, like, they might have cheered, like, oh yeah, oh, what the fuck, you're spraying me with champagne, like, how do you not get your ass beat, like, after that game? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I feel like if, like, random fucking drunk Bob decided to spray his beer all over people, like, he's gonna get his ass beat in the stands. You know what I mean?
Or
like,
you know, people. One person brought up a good thing. He was talking about being at a game and was like, hey, like if you do this in the seats, or you know, like you pour beer on, like you're getting kicked out of the game. You know what I mean? Or like,
yep,
you know, shit's happening. You know, so it's kind of crazy. And then I think she got some hate from that, and then she creates a video. I don't know. She made it about herself, and that's why people fucking are hating Kansas City. It has nothing to do with like the team. It's everybody fucking hates her and his fucking brother. It's weird. It's like they act like you think that Patrick Mahomes, being a young star in the league, would act like. You know what I mean? It's like they're kind of writing his fame and using his like fame for like clout. You know, it's so fucking weird.
How many like other star quarterbacks do you see like their wife or girlfriend or siblings behaving that way?
No,
you know what I mean? Like I don't see Josh Allen's family and girlfriend on fucking TikTok doing dumb shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you know what I mean? Like it's wild to me. And like, you know, I honestly, I agree. You know, I think people like are seeing this and like you're putting yourself like way out there, and you know, I think it's like backfiring on them and like causing a lot of people to be like, well, fuck these guys. You know, like we're already sick of seeing you win and have success year in and year out, like to begin with, and now you're just fucking adding fuel to the fire, like, you know.
Yeah, dude. So she kind of like gives me this vibe of like, and I don't know how long they've been together, but that girl kind of gives me the vibe of like, you know, I'm gonna fucking divorce you and take all your fucking money. But I get those vibes from that chick.
I think they're high school sweethearts, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
I mean, I don't know, man. It's interesting.
Maybe not, but
maybe not. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I know people will probably, you know.
Do you think since he has a good shot in this game, or like how do you feel about it?
I mean, for the sake of my bets, let me pull my bets up here. Let's see. I only did one. I might do another one. I don't know. I picked, because, you know, Vegas is usually pretty good with the spread. I did 31-24 Chiefs for $10. That's the score prediction, right? I'd win 2,700 bones, right? I did a lot. One of the things I like to do, I'll show you how to do it whenever next season when you guys are able to bet. One of the things I really like to do is parlay anytime touchdown scores. So for these two games, I did a 7-leg parlay. It's a lot though, you know what I mean? It's a lot of touchdowns. So I have Cooper Kupp, Beckham, Samuel. He didn't score last week. That could be tough. I don't know. Jamar Chase, Kelsey, Pringle, Tyreek Hill. That's a lot. I don't know. Anytime touchdown scores. Okay. I'm probably not going to hit this, right? But you know, I might do another one here. When putting them all together, it's a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 7, right? Payout would be $2,288. So I got to put some more bets in. That's kind of like, I do have a 2+ touchdowns. I parlayed that Pringle dude because he's been like kind of popping, you know. And I feel like, I don't know, his odds were a lot higher for this. So, but that's why I did it. Payout for him, Jamar Chase, 2 touchdowns each, $887. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'm gonna bet some more shit. I do have another one anytime touchdowns. I did Kelsey, Hill, Mixon, Jamar Chase for $133. I bet $10. Patrick Mahomes have 2 passing touchdowns in each half. That one's kind of tough. 20 to 40.
We'll definitely have a parlay bit me segment next week then.
Absolutely.
With all the shit.
Absolutely. Because guess what?
You've got going in.
Guess what? I do some risky shit. Well, I don't do like, I got friends that are throwing thousands of dollars down on a fucking bet. I won't do that. But yeah, so hopefully I fucking win something, but it's been a bad fucking month. So
I have seen, you definitely do risky shit. Like, dunk your nuts in a open bear trap, like bet 45 different parlays.
Dude,
like,
speaking of dumping your nuts, did you listen to that podcast I sent you?
I did not get a chance to, no.
Dude, I'm telling you, like that last part, you're gonna fucking die laughing. It's a really good podcast. They split off from Brandon Marshall because he kind of sucks at running a show. So it's Fred Taylor, Ryan Clark's now kind of the mediator, and Channing Crowder, I think is his name. He was a linebacker from Miami, and they usually bring on a guest. But dude, it's pretty good. It's a good show. Like hearing ex NFL players talk, and then like bringing people on that are current players and like talking about shit. It's really awesome. You get like a
we'll have to talk. We'll have to talk about it next week.
But yeah, watch that episode. The full episode's good, but like that end part, you're gonna fucking laugh your ass off. It is so funny, dude. It's when they start talking about the most painful injuries they had, dude. It's hilarious.
Okay.
But yeah, Cincinnati in this game. My brain is telling me that Kansas City is just gonna fucking dominate. But it is the NFL. This is the AFC Championship game. I think it will probably be closer than we think. Vegas has it at 7. Since his offense is high powered, and Kansas City's defense has definitely picked it up. Remember that stretch early in the season where they were struggling really, really bad. They've rebounded. I don't know, dude. Since he's O-line, we'll see what they do. But despite that, Joe Burrow seems to be balling out of his mind. So I don't know, man. I think Kansas City's it's hard. I'm gonna take the experience, right? Like Kansas City's been there. What is this? Their 4th AFC Championship game in what? The last.
It's the 4th straight AFC Championship game.
Straight. Yeah. So I'm taking experience over the inexperience. So I think Kansas City is gonna definitely win this game for sure.
Well, I honestly, like my gut the entire time was, we talked about it last week. Winner of the Bills Chiefs game, I think, is the AFC champion, or ends up being the AFC champion. I know Kansas City is an up and coming team. Here they are in the 2nd year of Joe Burrow's tenure, making it to the AFC championship. I think their path was, and while it's not easy, but I think it was laid out for them to really get to this point. The game earlier in the year where Kansas City and the Bengals played, it was back and forth, high scoring affair. I don't know. Like I tend to agree with you. Like I think the coaching experience, I think the players' experience, Kansas City playing at home and getting that home field advantage in a colder weather with one of the loudest stadiums in the NFL for a playoff atmosphere. And Joe Burrow doesn't shy away from stuff like this, but I think it ends up just all culminating to be a little too much for them to really get comfortable in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And, after watching them the last 2 weeks, like a nail biter versus the Raiders, another nail biter in which like you could argue that Tennessee really had a good chance to win that game had it not been for Ryan Tannehill just being a fucking dumbass idiot and throwing an interception. Like, to me, Kansas City is the better team. And I think Kansas City goes with this one, man. And it could be a 2-score game. I could absolutely see it being a 10-point game, just with situationally and everything. Like, there's going to be a lot of pressure on a young, not experienced playoff Cincinnati team. And, it's going to be a good learning experience for them. But I think ultimately Kansas City makes their way to another Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah, no, I think so too. The next game is interesting because divisional game, they've played each other twice already. The last time they faced, Rams had a 17-point lead. They blew that lead, and 49ers were able to win that game. With that being said, though, I can't remember what happened the first time they played. But I do think the Rams are coming along. Even though they almost gave the game away the week before, they were able to hang on and do what they needed to do. Offense is clicking big time right now with Kupp and Odell in there. Defensively, like I said earlier, everybody's kind of stepping up. And obviously they're not going to be playing in a blizzard and negative temps. So even with that being said, man, I feel like, and there was something, I don't know if you saw it. So apparently like Rams fans were selling tickets to 49ers fans or something, or they were on the process of like trying to stop fucking 49ers fans from buying tickets to the game.
They like put a cap on ticket sales.
But it's so weird.
Outside. Yeah.
So essentially 49ers fans were just willing to go travel and go to it's just weird. I don't get it.
The Rams never fill their stadium anyway. Like they very rarely.
That's what it is. Yeah. Like no one gives.
Yeah, because like they don't, their home field advantage, like they don't really have home field advantage because like I feel like there's just not a ton of LA Rams fans. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Because everybody was St. Louis
when they were in St. Louis, and I feel like they kind of fucking wrote them off because like I feel like St. Louis fans got like gypped. Like they feel like they got gypped, so they're like, "Fuck it, we're not gonna root for them if they're in LA." Well, it's like me. It's like me if the Bills were to move. Like I wouldn't root for the team that relocated. Like I would feel fucking devastated and like fuck you, I'll pick a different team. So like I can relate to that if that's the case. But the St. Louis fans aren't gonna fucking go out to LA to attend the game.
Right.
So yeah, but as far as this game goes, man, like I kind of have a tendency to agree with you. Like all things being equal, like you could argue that defensively, like I don't really see an advantage one way or the other with these teams. Like, you got a stout defensive front in San Fran, led by Nick Bosa, and a good linebacking core, and you're doing enough in the defensive backfield where you can really be a force on the defensive side of the ball, and then you flip it to the other side, and you got Von Miller and probably the best defensive player in football, Aaron Donald, that are really contributing to be X factors on that defense. So like I don't know that one team either has an advantage, defensively in this game. It's going to boil down to who's playing the most complete complementary football going in, and I think that's the Rams right now. I mean, they seem to hit their stride, like you said, offensively. It's it's just one of those deals that I think despite I think it was split split victories in the regular season between the two. Like they split their games. So despite knowing that, I think the Rams really have an advantage going in, but honestly it would not surprise me.
Yeah.
With what the 49ers were able to limit last week with Aaron Rodgers and company. Like it would not surprise me if they somehow came into this game, shut down the Rams offense and squeaked one out, right?
I mean, but for me, I feel like for the 49ers to win this game, I can't remember what Garoppolo finished with in terms of attempts and passes. I know at one point he only threw the ball 19 times. I think this would be a game that he's going to have to win with his arm. You know what I mean? I feel like you're going to have to throw a little bit more than 19, 20 times to beat the Rams. So
and then look at what the Rams did to Tom Brady last week, right? Like he was not comfortable at all in any of his pass attempts and things. So, if you're San Fran, like you're going to hope you can beat them by being creative in the run game and like getting your success there. But, I think all it's going to take is you to squander a couple opportunities and for the Rams to put pressure on you, and make you have to throw the ball and make you have to air it out and get away from what you want to try to do. And, I think that really ends up skewing what you're trying to accomplish and really plays into the Rams' favor at that point, especially as a pass rush team. So,
yep. So yeah, I think we're kind of on the same page. I think Kansas City Rams is going to be your Super Bowl. I feel like matchup wise, it's probably the best matchup in terms of like, defense and offense and all the talents on the field. I'm rooting also for the Rams just in general, just because of Matt Stafford, actually.
Yeah, that's the whole reason I'm rooting for it too.
Yeah, all the years that he was with Detroit, and a lot of Detroit fans love him, but some people kind of like were ready to let him go. I'm like, dude, I'm glad he's kind of gotten that opportunity to go out there and play in a Super Bowl and then potentially win. So definitely rooting for the Rams, I think.
Same, man. It was, my whole thing was Matthew Stafford. Like, I would love to see Matthew Stafford. If my Bills can't win it, like I'm always a big like fan of players as well, and I've always been a fan of Matthew Stafford, just like community wise, what he did in Detroit. I feel like he never really had a good opportunity there. And it's not to any fault of his own. And like now he gets a really good opportunity in a team that has been proven to have some success. Sean McVay being not that far removed from a Super Bowl appearance himself. So, I'm kind of pulling for him. It's mostly that, and it's just I don't necessarily want to see Kansas City fucking get another Super Bowl either.
Yeah. It was funny. I saw a podcast clip of Stafford's wife talking, and she was saying how like she plays fantasy football and she had him one day and he played like a really bad game, and he was like, well, he's like basically made her like, he's like, well, get rid of me. You know what I mean? Like, so she like didn't play him or whatever, and he ended up balling out after that. And it was kind of funny how she was like talking about it. And I was like, oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. It's funny, like anecdotes like that kind of crack you up. Like, oh, all right, well, you know what? Now I kind of like that dynamic a little bit, right? Like, like that's relatable and funny. So yeah, I feel it. But
yeah, we got about half hour till kickoff, and I'm gonna play some more bets for sure. We could. What do we don't know? Let's do one live. I'll put the power in your hands here. Who do you think is going to score touchdowns? I'll put that parlay in.
Touchdowns today, I think.
And that's both games.
Cup scores.
Anytime touchdown scores.
Cooper Kupp.
Okay.
I could see a George Kittle.
Okay.
I could see a Cam Akers.
Okay.
I could see a Travis Kelce.
Hold on one sec. Okay.
Jamar Chase.
Okay.
Joe Mixon.
Okay.
And Tyreek Hill.
All right. I'll do this one. Seven. That $10 would win $13.58. So
my
I think you're cutting out again. It's been a choppy ride home for you. Oh, I hear you. Kind of. Still nothing. This is a wild ending to the show, man.
Hold on.
Oh, wait. I think I hear you.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Hear me now?
Oh, yeah. I hear you now.
Okay. You know what it was? I just pulled into my apartment complex and it tried to kick over to my Wi-Fi, which has no fucking signal out here because of how far away I am. So, yeah, it makes no sense to me. But why you would want to try to connect to the Wi-Fi here, but whatever. But yeah, dude, like my advisory fee is only $200 for that. So, just keep that in mind.
That's funny. But yeah, dude, we got some bets in. Yeah, dude, game's about a half hour. I don't know what you're doing for it. I haven't really decided yet. I have some options, so I'm gonna fucking get ready for that. Get this episode uploaded, and yeah, man, we'll be back this week together. in the same room, which will be kind of cool, even though I'm gonna freeze my dick
Yes,
off.
sir.
But yeah, dude, looking forward to it. If you want to follow us, you can follow us at AJXO Pod on Twitter and TikTok. And personally, you can follow me at Justin_Max on Twitter.
And you guys can follow me at BillsFan53. And it's the number one LLS fan 53. So definitely give us a follow, man. Like,
yeah, dog.
You know, we're coming down to the crunch time of the season. So
it is indeed. So yeah, that's all we got for today. And go Rams. And y'all be sweet.